Picture this. You are on a third date with a woman you genuinely like. The conversation has been flowing, the chemistry feels real, and she just told you about a stressful situation at work that left her feeling undervalued. You want to be supportive, so you immediately jump in with solutions, advice, and a detailed plan for how she should handle her boss. She nods politely, but something shifts. Her energy pulls back. The warmth you felt moments ago has cooled. What just happened? You were trying to help. You were being a good partner, but you just stepped on a boundary she did not know how to communicate, and you did not know how to read. This is the moment where most relationships begin their slow, quiet unraveling. Not because of betrayal or big fights, but because of small, repeated misses in connection. And today, I want to show you how to stop missing those moments, how to build attraction that lasts, not through tricks or games, but through the kind of presence, respect, and authenticity that women actually find irresistible. Let us start with boundaries. And I want to be really clear about something from the beginning because this is where most people get confused. Boundaries are not walls. They are not ultimatums. They are not punishments you impose on someone when they disappoint you. Boundaries are the guidelines you set for yourself about what you will and will not accept, how you will and will not be treated, and what you need to protect your own emotional well-being. The philosopher John Stuart Mill, in his work on liberty, argued that the only purpose for which power can be rightfully exercised over any member of a civilized community against his will is to prevent harm to others. When you set a boundary, you are not trying to control her. You are preventing harm to yourself. And that is not selfish. That is essential. The first thing you need to understand about boundaries is that they are flexible. The boundaries you have with a woman in the beginning of a relationship will change as trust is built, as intimacy deepens, as you both learn more about each other. A boundary you hold firmly in week 1 might soften in month 6 because you have earned each other's trust. A boundary that feels rigid at first might become more nuanced as you understand each other's communication styles. And that is healthy. That is growth. Rigid boundaries that never change are not boundaries. They are defenses. And defenses keep people out. Boundaries, real ones, create the conditions for intimacy. But here is the mistake so many men make. They assume that if someone crosses a boundary, the relationship is over. They think, she disrespected me. I am done. And sometimes that is true. If someone repeatedly and knowingly violates your boundaries, especially after you have clearly communicated them, that is a sign of disrespect that should not be ignored. But often, the person does not even know the boundary exists. They are not mind readers. You cannot expect someone to respect a line they did not know was there. The better approach is this. When someone crosses a boundary, you set it. You communicate clearly and calmly. Hey, I noticed this happened and it did not sit well with me. In the future, I would prefer if we handled it differently. And then you watch. If they respect that and adjust their behavior, the relationship can grow. If they continue to cross it, then you have real information about whether this person is capable of respecting you. That is when you may need to re-evaluate the relationship. But communication has to come first. This is where so many men get it wrong. They hold silent resentments. They expect her to just know what they need. And when she does not meet those unspoken expectations, they withdraw, they get cold, they pull away. And she is left confused, wondering what she did wrong. The philosopher Martin Buber, who wrote extensively on the philosophy of dialogue, distinguished between I-it relationships, where we treat others as objects, and I-thou relationships, where we truly encounter another person. When you communicate your boundaries clearly, you are inviting her into an I-thou relationship. You are treating her as a person capable of understanding and adjusting. You are not treating her as an object to be managed or a problem to be solved. Let me give you some concrete examples of what boundaries look like in real life. Time boundaries are some of the most important and most overlooked. Setting aside time for your hobbies is a boundary. Not answering work emails outside of work hours is a boundary. Not answering phone calls after a certain time is a boundary. Letting others know when you are unavailable and when you are available is a boundary. These are not about being cold or distant. They are about protecting your own energy and your own life. When you have a full life, when you have hobbies, friendships, and goals that matter to you, you become more attractive. Not because you are playing hard to get, but because you are a person of substance. You are not waiting around for her to fill your time. You have a life that is already full, and she gets to be a part of it, not the center of it. Now, let us look at boundaries in everyday situations. You are in a conversation, and she brings up a topic that makes you uncomfortable. You can say, "I am not comfortable discussing that topic." That is a boundary. You are in a disagreement, and she starts raising her voice. You can say, "I do not like being spoken to like that. Let us take a moment and continue this conversation when we are both calm." That is a boundary. She asks you for help with something, but you have a deadline. You can say, "I cannot help with that today because I need to finish my project. I can help you tomorrow." That is a boundary. She uses a tone or a label that feels disrespectful. You can say, "I do not tolerate being called names. If we are going to have this conversation, I need us to speak to each other with respect." That is a boundary. Notice something about all of these examples. They are not aggressive. They are not accusatory. They are not punishments. They are clear, calm statements about what you need and what you will not accept. And they give her the opportunity to respond. If she respects your boundaries, she will adjust. If she does not, you have information about whether this relationship can work, and that information is gold. Boundaries are not just about protecting yourself. They are also about testing compatibility. When you set a boundary, you learn something about the other person. Do they respect you? Do they listen? Do they care about your comfort? Or do they push back, dismiss your feelings, or try to make you feel unreasonable? A woman who respects your boundaries is a woman who is capable of a real relationship. A woman who dismisses your boundaries is showing you who she is. Believe her. Let me give you a vivid scenario to bring this to life. Imagine you are dating a woman named Sarah. You have been seeing each other for about 2 months. Things are going well, but you notice a pattern. She calls you late at night, often after 11, wanting to talk for hours. You enjoy talking to her, but you have an early morning routine. Gym, work, your own projects. You start feeling exhausted. Your energy is dipping. You are resentful, even though you like her. You have not said anything because you do not want to seem distant or uninterested. But the resentment is building. One night, she calls at 11:30. Instead of answering and staying on the phone until 1 in the morning, you let it go to voicemail. The next morning, you text her, "Hey, I saw you called. I was already asleep. I have been trying to get to bed earlier because my mornings have been packed. Let us catch up later today." That is a boundary. You have communicated your need without being cold or punishing. You have not said, "You call too late and it is annoying." You have said, "Here is what I need." Her response will tell you everything. If she says, "Oh, I am sorry. I did not realize. Let us find a better time to talk," she is showing respect. If she says, "Wow, you are really busy. I guess I am not that important," she is showing you that your needs do not matter to her. That is information you need. And now you can make a decision based on reality, not hope. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who was deeply concerned with the nature of power and authenticity, warned that the individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. When you set boundaries, you are asserting your individuality. You are saying, "I am not just a part of the tribe. I am a person with my own needs." And that assertion of individuality is not just healthy, it is attractive. Because a woman who is looking for a real partner is not looking for someone who will dissolve into her. She is looking for someone who can stand on his own. The second thing I want to talk about is social competence. A lot of women find social competence attractive, and there is a biological and psychological reason for that. We can understand it through evolutionary psychology. Long before modern times, and in some cultures still today, when a person had more social connections, it provided better benefits to him, his wife, and his children. Think about it this way. Imagine a tribe with limited medical supplies. The tribal leader, who had more social connections and higher status, would get those supplies first. His family would be protected from sickness. His children would survive. A woman, from an evolutionary perspective, would be drawn to a man who could provide that kind of protection and access. It is not about being a tyrant. It is about being connected, being known, being someone who can mobilize resources when they are needed. From a social psychology perspective, the same principle applies today, just in different forms. The more connections you have, the more benefits you receive. People check up on you. People notice when something is wrong. People offer opportunities. If you are a regular at a cafe and you do not show up on a Monday morning when you always do, the staff will wonder if you are okay. They will check on you. That is social competence in action. It is not about being popular. It is about being integrated into a community, and that integration signals stability, reliability, and value. The philosopher Aristotle, in his Nicomachean Ethics, argued that man is by nature a social animal. We are not meant to live in isolation. Our well-being depends on our connections to others. When you demonstrate social competence, you are showing that you understand this fundamental truth. You are showing that you can navigate the social world, which means you can navigate the world of family, of work, of life. So, what does social competence actually look like? Let me give you some examples. Active listening. Not just waiting for your turn to speak, but truly hearing what the other person is saying. Clear communication. Expressing your thoughts and feelings in a way that others can understand. Empathy. Being able to understand and share the feelings of another person. Cooperation. Working together toward a common goal. Conflict resolution. Addressing disagreements in a way that strengthens the relationship rather than damaging it. Respect for others. Treating everyone with basic politeness and dignity, not just people who can do something for you. Courtesy, consideration, kindness. Teamwork. Self-control, particularly managing your emotions so that they are appropriately reflected in how you communicate and behave. Adaptability and adjustment. Being able to adjust to different social situations without losing your sense of self. Giving and receiving feedback. Being open to hearing how you affect others and being willing to share how they affect you. Building relationships. Making friends, maintaining connections, showing trustworthiness. Problem-solving with others. Addressing challenges together and creating solutions collaboratively. These are not soft skills. These are essential life skills. And they are deeply attractive because they signal that you can handle the complexities of a real relationship. Let me give you a real-world scenario to make this concrete. You are at a work event. There is a colleague who always sits alone during breaks. You notice him and you invite him to join your table. That is social competence. You are building connection. You are including someone. You are showing that you are not just focused on yourself. Another scenario. A coworker is expressing frustration about a project. Instead of immediately jumping in with solutions, you listen. You ask questions. You let them feel heard. And then, when they are ready, you offer suggestions. That is social competence. You are showing empathy and respect. You are not steamrolling their experience. Another scenario. You are in a meeting and a team member disagrees with you. Instead of getting defensive, you hear them out. You share your perspective. You look for a compromise. That is social competence. You are showing that you can handle disagreement without collapsing or attacking. Another scenario. A friend apologizes after hurting your feelings. Instead of holding a grudge, you say, "I appreciate that." You acknowledge their effort. You move forward. That is social competence. You are showing that you understand people make mistakes and that relationships are more important than being right. Another scenario. You are discussing a difficult topic with your partner. You are both frustrated, but instead of name-calling or raising your voice, you stay polite. You stay respectful. That is social competence. You are showing that you can handle conflict without becoming destructive. The philosopher Immanuel Kant, in his categorical imperative, argued that we should act in such a way that we treat humanity, whether in our own person or in the person of any other, never merely as a means to an end, but always at the same time as an end. When you treat others with respect, when you listen, when you cooperate, you are treating them as ends in themselves. You are valuing them for who they are. And that is the foundation of genuine connection. The third thing I want to talk about is keeping your authentic opinions, being your authentic self. A lot of men make the mistake of adjusting themselves to please their partner. They agree with everything she says. They suppress their own opinions. They become a mirror reflecting back what they think she wants to see. And in doing so, they sacrifice the original person that she fell in love with, the person she was attracted to. This is one of the most common and most destructive patterns in relationships. It starts with good intentions. You want her to like you. You want to avoid conflict, so you say yes when you mean no. You agree when you disagree. You hide your true feelings because you are afraid of how she might react. But here is the problem. Authenticity is the foundation of attraction. When you hide who you really are, you are not giving her the opportunity to love you. You are giving her the opportunity to love a performance. And performances are exhausting. They cannot be sustained forever. Eventually, the real you will emerge. And if it emerges after months or years of hiding, it will feel like a betrayal. She will feel like she does not even know you. And she will be right. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard, who wrote extensively about the importance of authenticity and selfhood, warned that the most common form of despair is not being willing to be oneself. When you suppress your authentic self to please someone else, you are in a state of despair. You are not living your own life. You are living a life designed for someone else's approval. And that despair will eventually poison the relationship. Being your authentic self does not mean bulldozing over her opinions. It does not mean being rigid or uncompromising. It means having your own opinions, expressing them respectfully, and being willing to find common ground. It means showing up as a real person with real thoughts, real feelings, and real preferences. It means giving her the opportunity to know who you actually are. And it also tests the relationship. When you express your authentic self, you see how she responds. Does she respect your opinions? Does she make space for your perspective? Does she care about what matters to you? If she does, you have found someone who can love you for who you are. If she does not, you have found someone who loved the performance, not the person. And that is not a relationship worth keeping. Let me give you a scenario. You and your partner are planning a vacation. She wants to go to a beach resort. You prefer the mountains. The old version of you, the people-pleasing version, would say, "Sure, the beach sounds great." And you would spend a week secretly resenting the heat, the crowds, the lack of hiking trails. The authentic version of you says, "I actually prefer the mountains. I love hiking and being in nature. But I also want us both to enjoy this trip. Maybe we can find a place that has both, or we could split the time." You have expressed your opinion. You have not attacked hers. You have opened the door for compromise. And you have given her the opportunity to show that she cares about what you want. That is how healthy relationships work. They are not about one person sacrificing their identity for the other. They are about two people who respect each other's identities and find ways to build a life together that honors both. The fourth thing I want to talk about is confidence. And I want to challenge the way most people think about confidence. A lot of people think confidence means never being wrong, never showing weakness, never admitting fault. That is not confidence. That is arrogance. Arrogance is a defense. Confidence is something else entirely. Confidence is trusting your own opinion. But it is also admitting when you are wrong. Confidence is communicating with a steady voice. But it is also listening. Confidence is believing in yourself. But it is also wanting to improve. Let me give you some examples of what real confidence looks like. Understanding when you have stepped on someone's boundary and saying, "Hey, I apologize. That was on me. I am working on it." That is confidence. It shows that you trust yourself enough to admit a mistake. It shows that you are not so fragile that acknowledging a fault will shatter you, readjusting your approach when something is not working. That is confidence. It shows that you are flexible, that you are committed to growth, that you are not so attached to being right that you cannot change. Wanting to do better for yourself. Going to the gym, reading, learning new skills. That is confidence. It shows that you value yourself enough to invest in yourself. Communicating with a steady voice, even when you are nervous. That is confidence. It shows that you can manage your emotions and stay grounded. Trusting your instincts to some extent, but also being open to new information. That is confidence. It shows that you are not rigid, but you are also not adrift. Confidence takes time to build. It is not something you are born with. It is something you develop through practice, through facing challenges, through learning from failures. And every step you take toward confidence is a step toward becoming more attractive. The philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson, who wrote extensively on self-reliance and the importance of trusting oneself, argued that nothing can bring you peace but yourself. When you build confidence, you are building peace. You are building a foundation that no one can shake. And that foundation is deeply attractive. Let me give you a scenario to tie all of this together. You are in a relationship with a woman you care about. Things have been good, but you have noticed a pattern. She often dismisses your opinions. Not aggressively, but subtly. She will say, "That is nice, but I think we should do it my way." And you have been letting it slide because you do not want to cause conflict. But the resentment is building. One day, she does it again. She dismisses your suggestion about where to go for dinner. This time, you do not let it slide. You say, "I notice you do that a lot." You ask for my opinion, but then you dismiss it. That does not feel good to me. I need to feel like my opinions matter in this relationship. That is a boundary. That is authentic. That is confidence. You have communicated clearly. You have not attacked her. You have simply stated how you feel and what you need. Her response will tell you everything. If she says, "I am sorry. I did not realize I was doing that. I will work on it," you have a relationship worth keeping. If she says, "You are too sensitive," or "That is just how I am," you have information. You know that she is not willing to respect your needs. And you can make a decision from a place of clarity, not confusion. That is the power of boundaries, social competence, authenticity, and confidence. They do not guarantee that every relationship will work, but they guarantee that you will not lose yourself in the ones that do not. They guarantee that you will show up as a real person and that you will attract someone who wants a real person, not a performance. The philosopher John Dewey, who wrote extensively on experience and education, observed that we do not learn from experience. We learn from reflecting on experience. So, I want you to reflect on your own relationships. Where have you been silent when you should have spoken? Where have you hidden your authentic self to please someone else? Where have you let boundaries slide because you were afraid of conflict? And what is one small step you can take today to change that pattern? It does not have to be a big step. It can be a small one. The next time someone dismisses your opinion, speak up. The next time you feel resentful about a boundary being crossed, communicate it. The next time you are tempted to hide your authentic self, let yourself be seen. Small steps, repeated over time, build into real change. And real change is what creates real connection. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit that like button if this resonated with you, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, stay grounded, stay present, and I will see you in the next one.